Hello, good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about sadhana because a lot of people keep asking me about it. Someone on my YouTube channel asked me to talk about vanity and attachment, and so I might try to figure out how to work that in here. It's not too hard to work those things in, but maybe I'll do a separate video on that. Let's see. So, a lot of people want they read about Ashtanga yoga, and I'm talking about my Ashtanga yoga students because mostly right now that's who I'm dealing with. I am dealing with uh, other students or other clients that I teach online or that I'm teaching stuff to, just privately. But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about in general. The major thing that I'm here in Germany doing is teaching Ashtanga. And so what I try to do is I'm not a big asana junkie. I believe the asanas are there and they work and the sequence is great and it's good, but I also am big on trying to imbue all of the teachings that I have with all of the deeper levels so that people can understand there's more to be thought about and more to do and more to focus on than just the asanas. But a lot of them want their asana practice to be a sadhana, but they don't really know if it is one or not. I used to say mine was a sadhana. I used to have daily at the same time because I had a regular job, so I had to get up very early and I had to do everything a certain way. And I was adding on and learning new things, so I was having to make more time some days. But I could always, within the Surya Namaskara, get into that space of the flow of the practice. So once you get into that, you don't really notice time, you don't notice your phones over there, you don't notice how long it feels like it's taking you. You just kind of do the next thing, you breathe, you do the next thing, you breathe, you do the next thing, you breathe, and then all of a sudden you're finished. And some days you have less energy, so maybe you notice you don't have a lot of energy and you're halfway through, or you've done just some part of it and you're thinking, okay, I should finish now so I can stay in that good place. That to me is when it has become a sadhana. For me, it shifted a lot when I was learning Kundalini yoga and studying Anusara yoga, so that because Anusara yoga helped me learn about body and anatomy and alignment in for the people who need that stuff. But the Kundalini yoga really got me aware of the energy movement and everything. So when I came back to doing Ashtanga full time, I never quit it fully, but when I came back full time to it in late 2011, early 2012, somewhere around there, I was feeling those things and noticing them and putting a lot of effort into that. So that shifted it away from being in that flow to me because I was really focusing on these things. And then it again, when I started going to Mysore a couple of years later, it got to be a sadhana for me because I was able to integrate all that stuff I had learned and just do the practice and not really think about it so much, the alignment or the energy. I could just feel it, I could tell it, and it just kind of it went along back into the flow with it. And then it became a sadhana again for me. But when I started doing mantra sadhana, and I felt the depth that you can get to within your own being from focusing on something like that, or when I was doing also in tantra, we have some yoga, some meditations that involve a visualization, that involve a mantra, that involve a breath pattern. It can be any of these things. It can be all of them things also. When I'm doing that and I'm really absorbed in those things, that also takes it into that deeper place for me, and then it becomes a sadhana for me also. This is also why Ashtanga Yoga can be a sadhana, because there are the three things that we call Trishtana. For me, they say asana. Well, Patabi or Shrat used to say asana. Breath and drishti. Sorry, I went on a little blank. The asana, the breath, and the drishti. So the asana, pranayama, and the drishti. For me, I always say breath bandhas indrishti because the breath is the most important. Patabi was big on enforcing that the breath, this was a breathing practice. So focusing on the breath first, bandhas second. In the way they used to describe it, saying the asanas are really finished when you get the bandha in the asana. So for me, it's the same thing. By saying the bandha, I am talking about doing the asana properly with the energy not leaking out, coming up and into the body and moving around wherever you're creating the bind. So it's the same thing. But if you're focused on those three things, you are absorbed, right? You're looking at the nose, you're looking at the third eye, you're looking sideways, wherever you're looking. That being kind of the last component, but you're really focusing, okay, I'm twisted, I'm squeezed, but I'm still got to push this deep uh, breath with sound, ujjayi breathing, whatever you want to call it, into this body somehow. But you got to keep the belly back and the pelvic floor lifted, and that makes you focus. So when you get all those things and you get focused, you are doing a sadhana, and it can change your life. But for me, the asana practice changed when I started doing these other things, when I started learning tantra, and that's okay. But I can still, now that I'm very established in my tantric practices, my mantra sadhana and the pujas that I do and stuff, I can get back into my Ashtanga practice and find that sadhana quality again, which is nice because it's really hard to do when you're thinking the whole time or you're noticing things the whole time and you're not able to get out of the mental state of it. Mental state is what we're trying to get out of. You know, yoga is chittavritti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations in the mind, so that the mind can just kind of relax, and you're focused on these other things. You're giving the mind something to do, and then you kind of get into this deeper state. So tantra can be yoga because you are absorbing yourself in such a way that it becomes a sadhana. A sadhana means a spiritual practice. A sadhana means a holy practice. It's something that you are doing to deepen your connection with God, to deepen your connection with yourself, which in many cases, God and yourself are the same thing. And I'm not saying I'm God. I'm saying you're also God. I'm saying each of us has a spirit, a soul in us. I mean, we are a very strange sort of machine that there is no reason for us to be moving. There's no reason for life to be coming into us. It doesn't really make much sense that these bodies work the way they work. Why does the blood pump? Why does the electricity move through it? Why does all these things happen? I believe the soul is kind of driving that. It's like the machine and the soul is the driver of the machine. So without that component, the body is inert and becomes a shava, a corpse. So the idea is to get into that deeper connection within yourself. Connection meaning whatever you want it to mean. I'm not going to define that for you. Yoga means connection or union with the divine. So we're always looking outside for the divine, but the divine really, really in the East exists inside. And once you find it inside, a lot of times you're taught to look outside, even in India. And eventually you find the right teacher that points the finger back to you so that you got, I'm focusing there. Okay, but if I'm looking at that God in that temple, what are the qualities of that God? What am I looking at? What am I looking for when I look at that God or that goddess? Those qualities are the qualities you want to find here. When you find them here, then you have a whole different experience. And then you can possibly find yoga because you can find the qualities that you're seeing in this God inside yourself, which means union, right? Uniting yourself. So even worshiping in a certain way can become a sadhana. Life can be a sadhana if you really want it to be. And the thing is, a lot of people are talking about attachments and all this stuff. And the thing is, with the attachment, if you're attaching yourself to something that is pulling you away from this depth of awareness, this depth of consciousness, then you're doing damage to yourself. That's an attachment that needs to be looked at. If you're attached to a sadhana, say Ashtanga Yoga, because that's kind of what I started talking about this with. And it becomes something that takes you in deeper inside yourself, and you're attached to that feeling that you get from it. Maybe that's okay too. Maybe you don't need to be attached to the feeling, but when you get the feeling, you feel that certain way, and you don't really care. We are humans. We are supposed to have feelings. We're not going to throw them out the window. But say your practice is this certain thing, primary series, dropbacks, closing sequence, and you have to do that, and you're attached to only doing that, and you will only call it a sadhana if you're doing that, then you're not focused on these things. Because say one day you have less time because you overslept by accident, or you didn't feel good the night before, so you didn't sleep so well, or whatever reason, it doesn't really matter. You have less energy, so you think, I need to do something because it gets me lined up internally. So you want to do Surya Namaskar, you want to do this, you want to do that. But you don't want to do more because you don't want to expend the energy that it might take to do so much. As long as you're focused, drishti, breath, bandhas, and you feel that connection while you're doing, you can do just the tiniest bit and still be doing a sadhana. And if you're okay with that, then you're not attached to needing to do the other thing. Now, yes, maybe you feel better when you're doing the other thing fully, but you can feel pretty good when you've done just a little bit, and you have to learn to not be attached to that, to be okay with it. It is what it is, and to learn to not require that one thing only to be there always, but to use whatever you've got and make that into your sadhana. That can be a lesson in non-attachment as well, if you can get there. Some people need so much to get there. After so much time, I feel like I need less to get there. I can get there more easily, more quickly, with less. But I also then, when I have less for too long, then I need more. So I have more one day, less one day. The mantras are always the same that I do daily. My asana practice is what I adapt and adjust, because it can be adapted and adjusted. The mantras for now, I have to do them for a certain period of time, and so I'm going to do them. Yeah, so that's all I got. I don't know if that answers any questions. I don't know if you even had questions. Maybe the people who asked me about this stuff won't even see this, but I did it. I got it off my chest, and there it is. So I will let you go. And I hope you have a great day, great evening, great weekend is coming up, and talk to you soon. Ciao.